I try to understand what makes a many to become one in more, let's see, post origins of life, meaning that I don't do origin of life, and I study cities, I study countries, firms, and economies, online platforms where people contributing to the one page, so it becomes a one sense of community, and Reddit and sense of community, so it becomes one from many, of comprising of many different users and individuals. So, and also the coming from physics also has some contributions of my understanding of one to many, many to one, meaning that my definition doesn't need to be a life. It's a group of people or a group of things, a group of I don't know, like no, to become one. So, for example, iPhone for me is a individuality. It's a kind of one in entity, or computer, microphone. Now the question is, what makes it one? It's a kind of things I've been struggling with, I would say. So I, this is a kind of like physicist mind thinking that it's a. I mean, if you look at the word, it's nested structure. It's somehow separable from one to the upper level. And I think Sean mentioned it in the earlier yesterday, and also in the description of the of the symposium, that there is some individuality, sense of individuality, and unit of analysis. My mind is a more natural unit of analysis that to make a field exist. For example, you start with maybe some atoms, and you have atomic field physics, and you have molecules, and studying molecules. You have bacteria, cells, humans. We study humans and don't really talk to the subatomic physicists. And we have a study of cities at the level of cities, comprising of humans, comprising of cells, comprising of molecules, comprising of atom, and all the way to the nation. And they operate in once they have formed this unit, consisting of subunits, they somehow operate in their own kind of unique way. So they have field. There is reason why they have field, and they operate in a mechanism that can be distinguishable from the mechanism at the below level of the scales. And even then, if you look at the zoom out even among the humans, there are so many things. Like there is a field called social science, of course. And even in the social science, you have economics, and you have the marketing, you have policy people, you have politics, you have what else? Like management science, and there are so many levels to understand the social systems at the different scales. So it seems like now to me the scales and boundaries differ, even if we are looking at the exactly same materials out of same materials. But if we look at the world at a different scale and boundaries, then the mechanism differ. And so this is like how I understand this symposium and my contribution. I try to make a contribution to there. And how, as a person who studies cities, I understand cities. So we consider cities special, and then the city is composed of people, and group of people don't always make to the city. Why? So there's some special meaning of the city. So if the city, so let's just consider the population of the city of population million. If I cut in half of the city, then the productivity I'm going to show you empirics is less than half. Meaning that somehow we double the city, we produce something more, we become more productive, and there is some studies also when you are in city, you become less biased to the ethnicity. So there is something going on. So here, what I'm going to show you among this own grandiose challenge, I can't really answer to this grandiose question of principle toward all this the organization structure. Instead, I try to show you here that what are the specialty of the cities? What's the regularities that cities exhibit. So I'm organizing the 4 ways. One is Zipf's law of the city size, and second, fractal, the way cities are distributed and or people are distributed in the city is fractal structure. And then the city itself has some scaling law, following the scaling law, where organisms actually follow. And within the city, there's a different, like similar compositions, economic compositions of the city across different, different regions. So it seems like there is something similar. There is a reason why we call it city. There is something like some transition happening to make a unit of city. And then, okay, so let's see. What are these? So first one, Zipf's law. So anyone heard of Zipf's law? How many people? I think like most of people know the Zipf's law. So if we look at the size of the city, and the size of city defined as a population, and rank their population of the city, and each data point is a city. Then you have the largest city and smallest city in the rank, and the functional form seems to be very consistent, very systematic. It's 1 over R. So this is the first paper, well-known paper by Gabex, an economist, looking at the 135 cities in US in 1991, and I updated with 2023 estimated, and this looks like this. So it seems like consistent. I changed the X and Y axis to read it better. So the Zipf's law is that the biggest city in the rank 1 is twice of the, most likely twice of the second largest city, and the third of the triple of the third largest city. So 1 over R. It's 1 over R here. It seems to be the pattern that repeat across different countries. So system of cities. So US, Brazil, China, India, Russia, Indonesia, Estonia, Nigeria. There are some like places also follow this Zipf's law, meaning that there is some unity, some entity that seems to act as if it's, I don't know, some well-defined organism. Maybe it's not organism. I'll get to that point, but something structured. And the second one is a fractal property. So if we look at the distribution, population distribution across the world, it doesn't look like two-dimensional. It doesn't look like just the surface. It has a very, very non-homogeneous, very heterogeneous, and concentrated in a self-similar way. So what do I mean by self-similar way? Looks like this. Some of you already know self-similar pattern and the fractal structure. It's a mesmerizing pattern, infinite correlation with a different scale. So you look at the different scales, and yet you lost where the scale you're looking at. So sometimes it's called scale invariant. There is a method that we can use to measure the dimensionality of this distribution, which is called box counting, or sometimes correlation dimensions and all. And I'm going to show you how it looks like. And then like there's an analogy. I mean, I can't say it's a proof, like a mathematical proof. It's an analogy that the city, the way people are distributed is fractal dimension. I'm going to show you, and also the way transportation network and where resources reached out to the regions, small regions, seem to follow the same structure you see in your body. It's a fractal structure as well. It's you have arterial veins, and you have the small veins, and like the branching off. It looks like some self-similar pattern. And this is neuron in your brain, similar to the mobility, human mobilities in 2 cities. So there is something going on, and I wouldn't say that this is the same mechanism that applies to city, to human being or organism. I don't know, but still there's something pattern that emerged that that imply there's some mathematical formula shared across different systems at different scale. So anyway, so dimension analysis. So we look at the dimension analysis by myself. Like I just look at the pairs, the number of pairs of interactions within the scale of R. So R is a scale I'm looking at. So meaning that 1 meter by 1 meter, or 100 meter by 100 meter, that's a scale of 100 meter, kilometer by kilometer, the scale of kilometer, 10 kilometer by 10 kilometer, x-axis, and I count how many people are interacting within that scale. 1 meter by 1 meter. For example, in this room, and people are distributed, and it seems like more two-dimension than the fractal dimension, meaning the dimension is between 1 and 2, or 0 and 1, something in fraction. Anyway, so if I look at that, the 1 by 1 meter, and I count the number of people within, and see how many connections they make, and I double the size of the scale, and 2 meter by 2 meter, 4 meter by 4 meter, and just count. And then the y-axis is this number. And if it is the two-dimensional space, then it's going to be 2, because double the size, then 2 to the 2, power of 2, so it's going to be the connection is going to be 2, but it's not. So it's between 1 and 2, meaning the cities are something a little bit concentrated, more concentrated at different scales, across different scales than what is expected from the homogeneous surface. So there is something going on. There's something, the invariant structure of the way people are interacting inside of a city. And that gives rise to the understanding of how the city's boundaries is drawn too. So we look at the UK, and then look at we use the clustering algorithm with the density, so percolation mechanism to identify and draw the line of the city. So we look at the density of each point, as we say, and then make a calculation at the different threshold of density, population density. And then you see the kind of city structure emerge out of this. And once we have some cut, we see the first pattern, the zip slow distribution, and you can see that in the left down in the plot, zip slow distribution is reconstructed. So it's interesting to look at the cities as how to construct here you are, how to define the boundaries in terms of more a bottom-up definition, and reconstructing the observation, regularity observation. And third signals, I consider regularity as a signal of the entity or individuality. The third signal is well-known scaling law. Many of you may heard of this Kleiber's law, and I will just get to that point, which was reobserved or observed in urban area as well. 2007, I think it was original paper, 2007 paper, PNS paper. They look at the instead of a size of distribution that was understood as a zip slow, we look at each city and their size and their quantities, corresponding quantity. Quantity includes crime, patterns produced by the city, GDP, and so on. And y-axis is those patterns with different colors, and x-axis is the size, normalized size. And you see the power law, well kept, expressed by the y to the n to the scale as n to the beta, and beta seems to be consistent. Interesting part is that beta seems to be very much consistent. One is beta is power of more than 1, meaning that it's superlinear. And second is that they seem to be very consistent, meaning that even if they have different quantities, like crime is not the same quantity of pattern, and yet they follow the same exponent. Meaning that in physics, when it comes to same exponent, we start to wonder, they are the same the class of model or dynamics. So there is some kind of a sleazy way of connecting things, but there is some reason to believe they seem to follow the same universality. And on the other hand, if you look at the infrastructure, then it's a sublinear. It's smaller than 1 in the beta, in the upper top left, the expression, beta exponent. Is smaller than 1. And what makes, okay, so these are the kind of things. Yes, so these are the data points here. I mean, even if it's an aesthetically pleasing kind of artistic way of presentation, but each data point corresponds to city. So largest city, New York, is on the right top right, and the left bottom somewhere you have Santa Fe, you have Chicago. So all these cities fall into that like curve or linear line. And then another thing is superlinear and sublinear. They're complementary. Exponent where the greater or delta greater than 1 and the smaller than 1 seems to be consistent, 0.15. And that actually intrigues, again, physicists. Of course, there have been a lot of debate about this exponent numbers, but that is enough for, that has been enough for the physicists and the mathematicians and even the social scientists, including regional economists and regional scientists and sociologists, to look into the what's going on, the mechanism, what's going on. And that is the reason why the unit of analysis is important, and the understanding of the pattern generated by this unit of analysis is very important. And again, just revisiting Kleiber's law. The Kleiber's law, for those of you who don't know what Kleiber's law is a wonderful thing that the organisms, if you look at all the species organisms, of course it's all empirically a little bit debatable again, but all these organisms are lined up in some nice power law as their metabolic rate as a function of mass. And this power law is, do I have the expression? No. The expression of this power law is exactly the same as y to the, y is the scale of the n to the beta. Here, n is the mass of the body, and beta is a 3/4. So some people consider, some people call Kleiber's law as the problem is this, the animation. Kleiber's law as a 3/4 principle. Because why? Okay, so I didn't put it here, and I just to give you the background for those of you who don't know, appreciate Kleiber's law, is that one is somehow all this species seems to follow this metabolic rate of the and to the mass of the body mass of the 3/4. That's a wonderful thing. And then the second one, this wonderful thing, is that it's not 2/3, but 3/4. And that's very important for physicists because we debate about the exponent of this. The equation. And if it is 2/3, there is the basic. You can make a basic model that 2/3 is 2 is a power is a typical power of the surface. And the 3 is the typical power of the volume. So volume, the surface to the volume is a kind of the basal energy rate you're consuming in everyday life. Okay, but if it's 3/4, that means there's something that the surface is more than what is expected from the two-dimensional surface. And turns out it is coming from this fractal structure in your body, that in your body, internal your body, is not just a two-dimensional, or three-dimensional surface, but it is a kind of fractal surface that it gives rise to the 3/4. Anyway, background story, I share with you the background story because once you know the pattern, you start to wonder what's the underlying principle that generates that pattern compared to the null model you have in your mind. With that, once you know this expression and the unit of analysis, you start to wonder what about other quantities? What about gasoline sales? What about road surfaces? You can generate all these different quantities with exponent. Now you can do the one step further. Once you know the right unit of analysis and regularities, you can go one step further, making the growth model. So growth model is following. So there is some assumption made here. The assumption made is following. The growth is determined by the availability of your resources, and And then it's composed of two parts. One is the basal consumptions, like N indicates number of cells in your body or number of people in your organization or city. And then the growth term in the second part. And once you know that, we kind of plug into the Y as a function of N to the beta. And once you put in there and like rearrange everything, and N is expressed a certain way. But some of physicists would notice, or mathematicians notice, that depending on the beta, the mechanism of this growth function will completely different by nature. So here, if the beta is smaller than 1, which is remember 3/4, the Kleiber's law, which is smaller than 1, meaning, I mean, there is a bunch of meaning implied by this. If it is smaller than 1, meaning that if you double your body size, you consume your energy per cell is slower or more efficient than the smaller animal. And then that actually is generated with the heart rate, and your elephant's heart rate is much slower than the human heart rate, and the dog's heart rate, or the small animal's heart rate, if you look at that, is much faster than you. Anyway, that's another thing we are going to actually touch upon. So once it's a sublinear, then this equation actually makes this hold on. Good prediction of the growth of the organism. So growth of organism is so if it is smaller than beta is smaller than 1, then there's sigmoidal function. You can actually, it's actually the first year the calculation in physics, and then you have and which actually follows the organism's growth function or empirical growth function. For example, these are all these organisms. You have a swine, cod, rabbit, the cow, chicken. All these things actually follow the curve, and showing that I mean, even human, you have your growth in the earlier age, and then you just kind of stabilize. We don't grow forever, right? So there is something you can actually do out of this. Now the problem is city has a beta not even equal 1, it's more than 1. So if it is more than 1, it doesn't go to the sigmoidal, it goes to the superlinear and the super exponent, and which is the bottom. And it's not just exponent, the super exponent, meaning that there is a critical point beyond which you don't have, or at which you don't have solution. So some people call it singularity, and we don't. I mean, there's so many things you can work on, but I just want to present it so that you understand what we can do once we have individuality, and how much we can push forward with the assumptionless models and models. And you can see the there is the critical point T sub c, beyond which it doesn't have a solution, and above which it has a collapse. Now, then people got worried, and then it's a wonderful thing that cities and human things, as opposed to biological organism, has innovation, and we create things like infrastructure of the pipelines and things like elevators when we have more population in cities, and we have a sewage system so that it becomes more efficiently to circulate resources and waste. And if we build if we concentrate even more, we build a building high up, and it takes us to a lot of effort to go up. Then we have an elevator to move vertically. So inventions actually makes it happen to go beyond the carrying capacity we usually have in ecology. So it's a really interesting thing that if you start to think city as a really organism or not, and where to how to take the ages of cities and all. Anyway, once we set all these things in the explicit way, we started to see the distinction more clearly. And here, so in the left, right, you have the cities with a time with a TC, the singularity point, and then assuming, hopefully, we did actually, we have innovation to reset the dynamics at the given N, like N1, N0 is like a left, and N1 of N1 at some point, and innovation and reset, setting all the reconfigured city, then it starts on the same curve, but start at a different setting, different initial conditions. And you start up, and then you have a resetting before T sub C comes in your, comes to us. And so, like the authors trying to say that, oh, wait, is it really true? So let's see the pace of the, whether the reset of the growth rate in the bottom, and whether this actually makes a different pace of urban dynamics. As if, again, it's like a sleazy analogy applied here, that again, the heart rate, that is as if it is a heart rate of organism. We look at the walking speed in cities as a function of population. So each data point is cities, and their population, and the walking speed measured by someone who is sitting in the cafe and looking at the people and walking. And how fast people walk in Tokyo, how fast walk in Seoul, how fast people walk in Chicago. And you see that like some kind of relation with the population size. The larger city, people walk faster. So there is something really interesting. People are people, and yet if you are in the larger city, you behave differently. There is some constraint as well as some kind of benefit, or I don't know. And so there is no good theory and a mathematical formula or mechanism to explain how we understand cities, innovations in cities, regions. Like renovations to reconfigure our area to become city. And yet it is still city. New York is still New York, but New York in the 500 years ago looked like this, the green one. And New York now is like this. They are the same city, but they are not the same city. So how we understand it in mathematical form is something, if anyone has some idea, just let me know. And with that, there are so many things like going on in this field, and one of the things I try to understand is, okay, if we consider the city as like evolution, as an entity, then is a big city, and following this curve and self-similarity in fractal dimension and distribution, population distribution, and also scaling law, then can I see that city is, the small city recapitulate the larger cities, how larger city actually went through their development process? So we find some evidence, yes. I mean, which is empirically interesting, but theoretically less, or maybe yes. And also, we also look at the composition within city. So we look at the distribution, we look at the size, and the size distribution as well. But we never actually look at what's actually the dynamics, or the economic dynamics going on. So I look at the number of different, I count different businesses inside of city, different restaurants, religious offices, lawyers, physicians, and different services, masseurs, and the occupations and the companies inside of city. And here we are. So this is a sample. I'm going to show the full spectrum of the cities. This is a sample of the 4 different the cities in US. So first one is New York in the top, largest city in US. Second one is Chicago, third largest cities. Now it's slowing down, but going down. Phoenix, then next, and San Jose. They are very different, and as you know, the San Jose is very different from Phoenix. And yet their distribution looks similar. You don't see them yet, but I'm going to show you. However, it is also true, like a lot of economists and regional economists study why one city differs from another, uniqueness of each city. They have a unique historical past, and their policies, and the composition of people. And so, which is actually true in terms of this, what comprise of each city. For example, San Jose, on the bottom, you say computer programmers services actually overrepresented than any other cities. In Chicago, you have offices, lawyers a lot, and real estate agency a lot, and in the Phoenix, and physicians is a lot in New York. So you see the different colors residing in this spectrum of the number of different offices. And yet, if I just get rid of all these differences and colors, I just look at the shapes of this distribution, which is abundant distribution in ecology. And in the now I just like sliding from organism to ecology, so which is going to be problematic in the future. Anyway, so if I look at the shapes, then the shape seems to be similar, and I rescale everything. Just skip it, rescale everything, and they actually collapse. And as a physicist, I love to see the collapse of the curve of all these different animals, all different beasts. So in the left-hand side is occupations of 360 cities in US. Right-hand side is business sectors in 360 cities in US. And they look pretty much like collapsing each other. So meaning that once you have a collapsed figure, then you can start to make a mechanism, make a model to generate that, regenerate or simulate this result. One of the mechanisms I choose here is Yules-Simon model, but it has to be generalized. So Yules-Simon model is following. So imagine we have this group of people here, and a new person is coming in. We have a different field, like people, each of us has a different field. Some of us have the same field, some of us no. And one person join in, and this is gross model. Some people, one person join in, and they choose what field they want to study. And it's proportional to, usually it's proportional to the size of the field. So number of people who study that field. And it's proportional to that. And this Yules-Simon model has been successfully generating a lot of different like power law distribution, but it has my empirics in cities has a power law, but also has an exponential tail. And then I realized, instead of just use the probability of someone who is differentiating other people, I generalize that probability. P as a function of size. So the larger size we have, the person comes in, the chances they differ, the person newcomer in this room is to differ from, to make a different field is proportional, is decreasing with the size. And once I put it in that equation, I reconstructed that. So some thought, okay. So I went through, very different from what you guys have done. I went through this universality and regularity of regular patterns in cities. There are so many different patterns like across different organizations. One of which I've been working with other people here in SFI and some other places, and which is bacteria. Now is a life here. The bacteria is each data point is a different kind of bacteria, E. coli, and they are expressed. They have different distinctive proteins that expressed in this bacteria. Each bacteria as a function of size here. The size is the number of bacteria expressed by not expressed, and you have this. The linear. It's actually not linear. It's a power law, because it's a log plot, and which seems to be very similar to federal agency. So now I'm comparing the bacteria with the federal agency. No implication, semantics involved. It's more pure mathematical like comparison. So you have a bacteria as a number of the number of proteins as a function of expressed proteins in bacteria, and I look at the number of occupation, different type of occupations of federal agency, so which includes EOD, NIH, NSF inside, and as a function of number of employees, the size of the federal agency. And they look very similar, which differs from the cities. Cities is actually logarithmic instead of power law. So we want to have some understanding of why city differs from the bacteria and from the federal agency, but federal agency seems very similar. We look at the second moment, instead of just looking at number of different distinctive types inside of entity, we look at the distribution for each entity. So distribution of the abundant distribution, as you saw in the previous slide, each bacteria in the left, in the second row, and also the federal agency and cities. Cities seems to be very different from the two systems, but the two systems, bacteria and the federal agency, seems to be seems to share similar patterns. So then we make a model out of this. So again, we use the Yusimon model. Now it's generalized even further to include the cities and the federal agency and bacteria. Here we use two different parameters. One is, again, like the new component comes in to make a growth of this system, and new member comes in, and new member decides whether new member creates a new field or attached to any of the field existing. And when they attach to any field existing, usually the basic Yusimon model is just the constant alpha. Probability is constant. But I generalize that the chances that the person or member creates a new type is proportional to the distribution of the different types. So if the distribution is very much concentrated, so here everyone is doing biology except one or two people, it affects this probability of the person changes his field. And the second is it's the same as Yusimon model if the gamma is 1, meaning that if I'm coming to this system, and instead of proportional to, I choose the field proportional to the existing size, to the field that is proportional to their field size. Now it's linear. It's not linear function. It's a gamma function. If the gamma is 0, regardless of the size of this field, if gamma is more than 1, means I'm heavily attracted to the field that has a really huge size. It actually changed. So with this gamma and theta here, I can plot all these different systems, including bacteria, human systems, in the size. And we are trying to understand how we are, like whether there is an organization principle across the cells to human communities. So as you can see, I'm clearly, so there are so much like sloppy things I went through. So the field is growing and field is interesting. So I would love to see what you're thinking about. And here is even if the field is still not well defined here, but still, I think there is something interesting thing going on. And also it has a practical meaning as well. So for example, this is a picture from us. So the way I think about this is that we, how many, like about the 200 people here, like more than 100 people here. And when is the time we start to feel sense of community? When is the time, what's the threshold, what's the condition for us to become more than sum of parts, like doing something greater than individual can achieve? This is something like, for me, it's a very interesting transition point, that we become kind of like organization and to achieve something greater than what we individual can do. And when it's apart, then it becomes far apart. So that's a really interesting question. I mean, it's just the exactly same thing that happens to single cell to the multicellular organism. And it applies to, I mean, maybe it is still analogy, but still it's an interesting question to ask for our society to become kind of like collaborating and coordinating to become a one unity. With that, thank you.